So welcome to episode 2 of Safe Harbour. It's so nice to have you back again. And I'm here with Jamie Robins, as ever.
Hello.
And on today's episode, what we're going to be looking at is, we thought it'd be really nice to unfold and unpack what 2020 has been like for us. And, you know, this isn't going to be all around COVID, the big C word. It's actually going to be how 2020 has panned out for both of us, and just exploring and unfolding that conversation. You know, what decisions we've made, how it impacted us psychologically speaking, and where we are today. So we're just going to dive into that conversation. We don't know what we're going to cover, but we make up it's going to be hopefully of use to you too as you listen in. We're really happy to have you here listening.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Oh, it's a big deep sigh in. 2020. Yeah, that was a big...
So maybe, I don't know, it feels right to say kind of, you know, let's imagine New Year's Eve. 2019, all these hopes and expectations for 2020. How was that for you? What were you looking forward to at the start of January 2020?
It's just going to be another year. It was another New Year's Eve. We don't do New Year's Eve we stay in as a family, and we make wishes and we write them on bits of paper, and
nice.
We try and have a fire outside. If it's not raining, we put our wishes on a fire. We don't do that as a religiously every year, but it's something that we've done in the past, and we like to have a coming together at New Year as a family. We don't go out partying so much, but so it was going to be another year, and I don't know, Phil. Actually, I think it was just kind of this year. I don't really set New Year's resolutions or anything like that, so. It just felt like another breath in, and a breath out. Here's 2020.
Well, I suppose we didn't know what was cooking up.
No,
so absolutely. We didn't sort of make any exceptional kind of plans, for the year ahead. It wasn't like, right, this one's going to be a big one.
Yeah,
I need to make some.
How about you? What was it like for you, New Year?
Same, really.
Yeah.
Same, really. It was like, there's 2020. That's got a nice round figure about it, that's coming. I remember saying to myself, this is the year that I do wish to go from one-to-one coaching to one-to-many. I do want to kind of show up more, and I do want to kind of take what it is that I know and turn it more into product form and more into group workshops and group experiences. And so that was really, as you say, I don't set kind of self-flagellating rules that I need to adhere to when it comes to the start of a new year, but I certainly do set intentions, and intentions, for me are, this is what I want to achieve, or this is what I want to realize, and this is what I want to have happen in my life. How I end up there, I don't know. And what that path to it is going to look like, I don't know. But I want to experience these things. And I remember saying that, I want to go from one-to-one to one-to-many.
What was it about that made you want to do that?
Well, I feel as if I've been coaching and mentoring long enough that I have a sort of body of knowledge, if you like, and tons of experience and hours under my belt as a coach and a facilitator, that I was able to kind of package this up and deploy it to those people who couldn't necessarily afford to work with me one-to-one. I'm not astronomical, but not everybody can work with me one-to-one, and equally, I want to reserve my energy so that I only work with a few one-to-one clients, and I can deploy my knowledge and my solutions via self-based training products through videos or one-to-many group coaching, or group experience.
Yeah, and I participated in one of those, and it was great.
Yeah, you did. And that was almost like the prototype for in 2019. Yeah, that was the sort of beta run for it.
Yeah, that's when we first met, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I had lots of really big intentions for, man, I'm going to get more visible. I'm going to have more of a voice. I'm going to be seen more. I'm going to own my personal brand more impact. But equally, I'm not going to exhaust myself more. And I've burnt out a number of times in the past. I'm not going to exhaust myself more by working all the hours that, are available to me doing a one-to-one in a one-to-one capacity.
Right. I remember this just reminded me of the time when I came to your course and I recorded the intro video, I think, to come on. And I just arrived in London, in Hyde Park. Me and my wife and 2 kids had walked for 10 days and canoed along the Thames Path. Do you remember?
I do.
Yeah,
I do remember,
as part of the Earth March to Extinction Rebellion in London for one of the big rebellions.
Yeah.
So I was totally euphoric. I've just arrived in Hyde Park, and there was drums and samba bands and
Londinium, you have arrived.
From the countryside. I've walked here and we'd canoed.
See how they do modern technology.
And I just imagined other people on your course going, "Oh right, crikey, he's quite full of."
This one's quirky.
He's quirky. He's just walked to London for 10 days. Okay,
with his stick and his dog in his knapsack.
Yeah, so that's what my 2019 was. This reminded me, 2019 was big, as part of Extinction Rebellion and all of that shift, that massive movement of consciousness to, make stuff happen. It just happened in that year. And so I felt actually, coming back to that question in the beginning, 2020 was going to be like, this is it. We've just made all this noise. And the whole planet is talking about climate change and system change. And there's going to be big change.
Yeah,
there's going to be big change.
That was a big thing, wasn't it?
Excellent. Yeah,
well,
and it's optimistic. Yeah, exactly. And Greta Thunberg and David Attenborough, and it was like the government could not ignore that anymore. And here we go. 2020 is going to be a big change. Boy, is it been a big change.
Yeah, totally. What were your intentions for your coaching practice and your business moving forwards into 2020 when you first hit January? How did you want it to look for you?
Good question. Well, having done the Purpose into Practice program with you, that really did have me understand who my tribe was. I'd not had a grip on that up until that point. And so I was just kind of floundering in the wind, really, just coaching anybody and everybody, which was great. And that's it's having an impact in the world, but I always felt like I really wasn't connecting with my tribe, and that really hit me, like I could speak to that. I could speak to my tribe from my heart rather than my head. And that got me excited. That meant, right, okay, I can go and speak to my tribe. And I floundered around a little bit, still coaching men, still coaching women, bit of both, not quite sure. So I was still kind of finding my way in with like really narrowing down my niche at that point in the new year, but resisting the idea of just working with men at that point. I hadn't reached that point where I thought, okay, I'm just going to work with men, because I was kind of slightly afraid of alienating women, because I like coaching women. I do. I'm a very sensitive feminine. I've got a lot of feminine energy, and I bring that to working with women. And so I guess maybe partly a saboteur showed up for me around, well, you can't just work with men. Are you manly enough for a start? All those kind of, will you be able to connect with that feminine side in men? Is there a market for those? All that kind of blah, blah, blah kind of stuff came trying to shut me down. So
I remember having, many conversations with you around that as well. It's like, is it okay to actually just declare that you just work with, men? And how actually, you felt really liberated when you did declare that, when you put that stake in the ground. You said, actually, I just work with men. Because, a bit of a kind of revealing a heads up, you and I both share WhatsApp audio memos back and forth, don't we? We check in pretty much every day with each other.
Every day,
yeah. And in that conversation, I remember, one of them was around, well, is it okay to just say I work with men? I care about the plight of men and how they're struggling. You felt really called to it. And when you actually dared to sort of claim it and put the stake in the ground, it felt really liberating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was like becoming a vegetarian or something. Like when I said, I don't eat meat anymore. Made a decision. And then if someone said, do you want a beef burger? I don't eat meat. It just made it really simple straight away. Okay, I just work with men. That's it. Great. Off we go.
And so with that kind of slight refinement, a slight niching down, slight not pivoting, but slight kind of focusing the lens on the target a little bit sharper, a little bit clearer. How did you see, what was the vision for you in 2020 in terms of delivering that work? How are you going to do it? Start working one-to-one, because you do building work as well, right? You do. I run
an interiors company, and I do a lot of hands-on. Up until recently, when I've really knocked that on the head and building my interiors business up a bit more, so I don't do that anymore. Focus on my coaching, but the point at which I realized that, yeah, I could actually do this. I could actually just work with men.
Mm.
Was actually, I guess, at the point when we started Safe Harbour, actually, back in March. Yeah, that was the point, actually, when I thought, I need this. I really need help.
Yeah.
I need help to get through this COVID thing that's just happened.
Yeah.
And it's stirring all this stuff up for me around feeling unsafe, uncertain.
Yeah.
How am I going to pay my mortgage? All that stuff kind of came and hit me in a big way. And I thought, I've got tools. I've got 15 years worth of tools to be able to steady the boat a little bit for myself. But a lot of men don't. And
exactly.
That's what had everything kind of come into line, like focus. In it came. Okay, this is your moment, Jamie.
That was interesting, wasn't it? Where you and I, we were checking in with each other. Maybe that's where it started, actually, when COVID hit. Was it around March time or something?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
It feels like a bloody long time ago. When that first landed, let's say, and was introduced and suddenly became a reality in our world, on this green and pleasant isle, it was like, wow, it's hitting our shores. It's real here. It's not just in China. It's not just on the news anymore. It's here. That I think we reacted in our own individual ways, of course, but I think there was a coming together of both of us and thinking, well, how am I doing in this? And how are you doing in this? And how are other men doing in this? How are we? Because I noticed that the male voices were very quiet on social media. My friends, we were heading into lockdown. We weren't quite there yet, but it was very quiet on the male front.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really quiet. And that worried me because I knew I was doing the same thing as well. I was bottling it up, really bottling it up, pretending this wasn't happening. It wasn't going to affect me. But then it just did. And if I can share this moment when I spoke, I know I've spoken to you about this before, but there was a moment when I was calling my mortgage company to talk to them about having a mortgage holiday for 3 months. I'd heard it on the radio and I thought, I can do that. That's proactive. Okay, that means I don't have to pay my mortgage 3 months. And I spent nearly 2 hours on the phone trying to get through, and I managed to get to speak to this young woman. And long story short, she said, okay, Mr. Robbins, you now don't have to pay your mortgage until the 31st of April. That's 3 months. You don't have to pay your mortgage. And I just started crying. I started sobbing. And I said, thank you so much. This is incredible. Put a barrier. Make sure you put a little barrier around yourself today. There's going to be a lot of guys calling up and you're delivering this message if you don't have to pay your mortgage 3 months, This is a big deal.
So you said that to her, right?
I did, yeah. And we shared this real emotional 30 seconds. And I said, thank you. I know this is not your money and you're not my mortgage company, but you don't know the relief that's just given me and the weight that's lifted from me. And I put the phone down and I sat on the floor and I sobbed for half an hour.
I remember that.
Snot dripping off my nose and I literally was shaking.
Yeah, that
shaking with release. It was just release. Like I'd been holding on and I didn't realize I'd been holding on for so long. And that was like, I don't have to do that anymore. Yeah. Off it goes. And that was another moment when I thought, how many other men are in this position right this moment, sat on their kitchen floor crying right now? Like, how am I going to pay my mortgage? I'm a musician, for example. I'm in the arts. I can't get a kickback loan or pay my mortgage off. Don't have to pay my mortgage because I'm renting. And I couldn't sleep. I felt guilt because I was in this position then, all of a sudden, that I don't have to pay my mortgage. I felt guilt that I own my own house and, I felt privileged guilt. And that was a pivotal moment to start Safe Harbour. Need to do something. We need to have a safe place for men to come and share this stuff in a confidential, safe environment. No booking system or anything, just come and speak.
So maybe just wrapping some words around Safe Harbour as a construction, as in what it is. I remember you and I having this conversation, or one of our WhatsApp check-ins, about the urge we were having to help men, or to create basically everyone was zoomed up, right? Everybody knew what Zoom was. And the general public suddenly became really aware of this incredible tool called Zoom. And could you deliver content? Could you come to meetings? Could you do intimate connections via Zoom? And because us being coaches, we've done this for many, many years using either Skype in the early days and then over to Zoom, we knew we could create safe containers to be able to have these conversations. And so you and I had this conversation saying, well, let's just do a one-off thing, right? Let's just choose a date and let's just put it out to our tribes, put it out to our Facebook and say, okay, so we're looking for men to come and share and in a safe Zoom container, and you and I are going to co-facilitate this, and we're just going to allow these guys, 5 or 6 guys, just to share, how are you doing in this time, And I remember we did that, didn't we? I think it was on a Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
For an hour and a half or so. And we hadn't done it before in this capacity, in this way. We certainly hadn't co-led something before, but just remember how incredibly powerful that was. There weren't just coaches on there, people who'd done this before, men who'd done this work before. There were guys on there who had never shared in this way before. And they were just like, wow, this is amazing. This is a thing.
Yeah. And one guy had never sat in it. He was first, right? He said, I'll go first.
Yeah.
He was the only guy that had never sat in a circle, never mind in a men's group.
Yeah.
He never sat and spoke vulnerably about what had been going on for him in front of a group. And he spoke so beautifully and articulately, didn't he?
He did.
About what was going on for him, and moved, really. It was
so raw for him.
Yeah.
But I think, sort of props to us, the safety that we created in that virtual space enabled him to feel, I won't be judged here. And I've been holding on to the enormity of the unknownness of this COVID thing, which is a huge, ominous, invisible, oppressive, and intrusive force which is coming into our shores, And it just felt like he was able to just be okay with it, okay with the feeling, not knowing.
Yeah, and that then gave full permission to everyone else in the circle to do exactly the same. He modeled it in the first instance of, okay, this is me being really open. And there were tears in that session, in that first session, wasn't there? There was a lot of vulnerability and a lot of rawness there, and safety, and even now I'm talking about it, my breath is short, and
me too.
I'm reminded
Holding
of
my
it.
breath.
Yeah.
Well, that was how it kicked off, really. Safe Harbour as a container, as a men's talking circle, really. So Safe Harbour, we were just having this conversation before hitting record on this podcast. Safe Harbour for us, for Jamie and myself, and I'll speak for myself, is it's a really powerful term of us being out in the ocean and the turbulent seas, no matter what life throws at us, have this opportunity of coming in and having these half-hour, 1-hour conversations in close connection, close friendship, in a really safe container. So that is us in this container of the podcast, having these conversations and sharing them with you and inviting you in as well to this safe harbor. And equally, there was a flip side of this as well, in that, there's a really amazing quote that exists out in the world, which are, ships are safe in harbor, but that's not what ships were built for. And so equally, there are times to go out there and sail the seas and be amongst the storms and feel as if you're going to be destroyed on those waves. But, you can always come back to this safe harbor. And that's kind of like the structure of this podcast.
I love that metaphor. And it feels like I've spent a lot of time out at some choppy sea this year, coming back to your question earlier, What's your 2020 been like? Or what was it like in the new year? The new year felt full of optimism and big change and positive, and it felt like I've been out at sea a lot. My ship's taken a bit of a battery. For
sure. Yeah. I'm just curious, can I ask you about the psychological and emotional impact on you just around the virus, actually, of this thing, which is brand new in a sense. We've never experienced this as a human being. What came up for you by way of feeling like, what if I catch this?
Well, certainly in the early days when we didn't know the strength of this, it felt like Russian roulette is what it felt like. Well, I'm fit and healthy, I'm 45, I eat organic food and take care of myself pretty much, I'm going to be okay. And then I would see on the news, which I couldn't leave alone for the first couple of weeks. Yeah. Couldn't turn it off. I was glued to it.
Yeah.
I was hearing that, men in their early 40s, early 50s were dying from it. And it reminded me of that time when AIDS was a big disease, that it was killing a lot of men, and that and it triggered that kind of that pain body in me of that period of time. And I remember it like, God, if I catch this, I might die.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Really felt like that.
Yeah.
Like, are you taking this seriously enough, Jamie? Was a constant loop in my head. I was getting I'm a bit blasé about things. a lot of the time. I don't, I'm a bit of a rule breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Always have been, but are you taking this seriously? Are you washing your hands enough? Are the kids going to be okay?
Yeah.
All that, and so there definitely was a lot of fear in the beginning. And I think that was partly that holding on thing was coming from that, that I was actually not quite sure how this was going to pan out.
Yeah. And I know for me, I wasn't actually looking at the news. It was complete la 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 la, fingers in ears, avoiding. And that kind of made it worse because I wasn't looking at, World Health Organization or any of the facts that existed. And I was just imagining this specter of enormity that would come through, sweep through and wipe us all out like a plague.
Right.
It really scared me, and it was, I felt very childlike. My parents are no longer around, but I wanted someone to tell me it was going to be okay. It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
So I retreated. I faded back into myself quite a bit, and I got very insular, very introverted, and decided it was a really good idea to start rebuilding my website. It was a really good way of getting busy, but also, well, I don't know. But I churned out a website anyway. So it was huge psychological impact in many different ways. And it obviously is still going on. But I do find that I'm kind of normalizing things. I'm like, okay, I'll go about my day. I'll wear a mask. But I'm no longer I'm not kind of literally locked down by it. I'm not in the corner in fear.
Yeah, not paralyzed by fear.
That's the word, paralyzed, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the new thing, the new fear for you?
The new fear. Well, I think the way that's changed shape is, I think, like, with all humans, we have this thing of adaptation, and we just become, if something happens for a long period of time, I think there's a natural buoyancy that brings us back up to a level where we're able to function again. They say that if people lose their eyesight or they lose a sense, it's devastating. It's like in grief, and you go through these phases, and eventually there's no time. It might not be fast, it might not be overly long, but there's this period of time where you sort of surface again and you return to a sort of normality, some form of normality. And I think that's what's happened for me. There's an acceptance of like, well, okay, maybe herd immunity is the way to go forwards, and I'm wearing a mask, I'm going about my everyday business, but I can't live in fear. I can't put my life on pause until there's a vaccine or it's all gone and done. So I'm just sort of gone back to living life in a way.
Yeah. For me, it's the unknown. Uncertainty. I have some fear around that. Like, but the positive perspective that I'm trying to adopt is that this needed to happen. Actually,
right.
It needed to knock, a bit like the climate thing. Something needed to happen. Something big needed to happen to shift consciousness somehow. And what I notice in me is that brings up a change. Like, we've all had to adapt. Businesses have had to adapt. Some things have had to die. Some things have just had to die and go into the soil, and to enable new things to be born, and for new things to grow out of this. So that's the positive lens that I try to adopt. It's not always easy, but I remember like how businesses adapted in those early stages, and how quickly they had to diversify, and pubs turned into shops, corner shops, and restaurants started delivering food. Communities came together to set up WhatsApp groups. We had one on our lane here. We live in the countryside here, and I think there was about 10 houses, and we were communicating with each other, taking each other soup, and a local guy in the town made pizzas and bread twice a week, and we'd go and collect it, and I'd put my mask on and my gloves and take it round to all the neighbors, and we'd send money via PayPal, because all the technology is there, right? So as humans, it brings me hope. I had and still do, a sense of hope that we are, as humans, we're so diverse, we can diversify so quickly and come together and regroup, that actually that's kind of what I meant by, I think this needed to happen somehow, to shake humanity up a bit, to really shake everything down, and all the dead stuff to just fall off like dead leaves, and what's left is new, and what are the new shoots that can be grown out of this. And
I think we needed to experience something that was bigger than us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like standing in front of the waves on a really windy day down on the seafront, and just noticing the enormity and the vast power of those waves. Or kind of, there's something about that which kind of makes us feel small and brings us back down to earth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so looking forwards to, to the rest of 2020. Looking to the future, finishing up on 2020. We're heading towards Christmas, and then we're going to, finish December, and then we'll be into 2021. What's here for you?
Adaptation and community. 2 words for me. Kind of adapting to what's here, and adapting to prepare for a future that we have no idea what we have in, what's coming.
Yeah.
And talking about not just COVID, life after COVID, but, climate shift and how we grow food and shopping locally and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of adapting to, my focus is community, really. It's like at home. I've got a little piece of land out the back of my house, tiny piece, only an acre. I feel very lucky, very privileged. And what I'm doing out there is I've put a polytunnel up with my wife and neighbours. And so we're kind of playing at what life might look like if we were to live more sustainably, harvesting rainwater, and we've got a little shepherd's hut out there, and we're going to put solar panels on it. And so we're spending a lot more time out in nature, getting my hands dirty and learning how to grow vegetables and failing miserably. But we had a lot of tomato. We've got a lot of tomatoes this year. Can't really live off tomatoes. Right? Yeah, we've got chickens. Yeah. So I'm kind of very lucky. I'm very, very lucky. I feel very privileged to live where I live. But that's my sense, is to really be on the land and connect and listen to what nature wants me to know. I spend a lot of time out in nature. It's my happy place. I listen to what the birds want to tell me and really tune into that. I've got some nice sit spots out there, and I just go and be in nature and breathe it in, drink it in. Yeah. So that's me. What about you?
Really nice. I think because just as a heads up to those listening, I live in southeast London. I'm quite close to Greenwich, and Jamie's in Stroud. And so maybe different cultures or different pockets of culture and different areas or different mindsets, but I think in these moments this is where we all come together in many ways. Similar touch points in terms of me enjoying going out and running more, getting out into nature and finding my body again, actually losing weight, losing those COVID pounds, and finding my body again and my fitness again, and honoring the body that works for me, and being very thankful that it does work. So my mindset has shifted to that as well. And also, like you were saying, that I think in the startup industry, there's a lot around grassroots. I notice a lot of local shops, particularly restaurants and places that are making good quality food. They are paying attention to being authentic with people, saying, quality ingredients grown locally. And, there's a lot more of these places which are thriving as people, I think, are choosing to put quality within their body because of all this, the way that the world's being ravaged by this virus. It's certainly here anyway. That's what I'm noticing. My perspective is that, there's a place called Chica, which is just down the road to me, which is a South American restaurant, tiny, but it's thriving. They were doing what they call dark stores, where they're not necessarily open for business, but their doors are open and you can order from them. And in the early days, and now it's like they're open for business because they're able to sit out on the street, and there's fluorescent colors and there's candles and there's little lights, and they're really trying hard from a grassroots perspective, and I'm inspired by that. And I think for this podcast as well, us making this podcast happen is no longer should we sit back and wait until it's the perfect timing to have a podcast or to be heard. Now's the time to have a voice.
Yeah, totally agree. It's just giving me a little goosebumps as you say that, because now is the time. It's like there has been no other time in history for us to speak out and to live our dreams, dare to get out there and just do it. That's what, for me, doing this, another thing about doing this podcast is it's about it not being perfect, about just talking about things that really matter to me and matter to us, and the work that we do and where we are in this world. And hopefully it resonates with people out there listening, and we can bring some help and some support to that, to people who are going through the similar things as we are.
Yeah. Great. So that wraps up episode 2 of Safe Harbour, and it's been a real pleasure again connecting with you. And 2020. Yeah, 2020. So let's see how things move forward from here. But how can people get through to you? Always just want to connect up with you if they want to have a conversation.
Yeah, sure. So my website is www.jamiecoach.com.
Brilliant. And you can get me on philaskew.com. Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Phil. See you next time.